Welcome back, everyone. It's time for another actual English lesson with me, Jennifer Clyde. It's always a pleasure to have you joining me. Now, let's start off with some bank topics. Let's begin with automated teller machines, as I did remind you in our last lesson. Now it's time for lesson 56, and yes, the topic is ATMs, short for automated or automatic teller machines. So where do we see these ATMs most? I would say at the bank, right? You can see them at banks or even at convenience stores. Sometimes even on the streets you will see them near convenience stores. So where do you go most often if you need to use the ATM? I try to go to my bank. I use Shinhan Bank, so I usually go and use one of those banks. Some people don't really mind. They use all different kinds of ATMs. Sometimes you do have to pay interest though. Anyhow, there's lots you can do with ATMs. Let's talk about all those things in today's lesson. Here is Actual Talk.
Sorry, Peter. I know I'm late.
Why?
Well, I had trouble finding an ATM of all things on my way here.
Yeah. Well, when you need cash, right?
Well, thing is, I needed a cab fare and I didn't have any cash on me. And I don't have a credit card, so I needed to find an ATM, but I couldn't find any.
It's all about PPP. Poor prior planning.
Whoops.
So yeah, you got to know where your ATMs are in your neighborhood. That's the first thing.
Okay. Now, that's only the beginning of the story. I got to the ATM and there was a lady in front of me. And what was she doing? She had a bank account. And you know how in Korea you actually do all your banking at the ATM? You have an option.
Oh yeah, you can transfer money.
Exactly.
You can do all those things.
And she took I'm not kidding, she took a full 7 minutes. And I'm just standing there going, I would probably take, 30 seconds maximum to withdraw cash. And you're standing there wasting 7 minutes of my time.
I bet she got a lot done.
She did. She did. And she was just looking through her bank checkbook or whatever it is. And I'm just standing there looking at my watch. I'm like, I've got to meet Peter.
Yeah.
Yep. So I finally got my cash and then I couldn't find a cab.
Yeah, that's too bad. But at least you have ATMs. I remember the days when there weren't any ATMs around and you had to have money in your pocket or the bank had to be open. Otherwise, you're,
What time
out
did the
of
bank
luck.
close?
Banks closed, I don't know, 5 o'clock in America
5
back then.
So you couldn't withdraw money after 5
Oh,
o'clock?
God, no, yeah. You had to
Goodness me.
plan ahead.
Plan ahead, yeah.
So I think that's the lesson for today. Start to plan ahead.
So how did you enjoy today's Actual Talk conversation? We had Peter and Joanne helping us out with some wonderful stories. Now, what did Joanne say? First of all, she was late, so she apologized to Peter about being late, and then she told us why she was late. Well, obviously, she didn't have any cash on her. She didn't have any cash, so she decided to go to an ATM. But what was the problem? She had to wait in line for a very long time. But once she got her cash, well, it took her a while to grab a cab. Let's take a look at the conversation. Here we go. Now, of course, Joanne was late, so she apologizes by saying, "Sorry, Peter, I know I'm late." And then she explains why she was late. I had trouble. I had difficulty. I had a problem finding an ATM on my way here. On the way over here or on my way here. Anyhow, the problem was she couldn't find an ATM. She had trouble finding an ATM. All right, well, Peter says, yeah, well, when you need cash, you really need cash, right? What does this mean? When you need cash, you really need cash. Why did he repeat the same thing twice? Well, for a reason, obviously. He's stressing it. Even when we say that when it rains a lot. There even is that expression. When it rains, it pours. 비가 올 때면 정말 많이 쏟아진다. It's just a way of stressing it. So he's saying when you need cash, you really need cash. And it's really hard to get cash in those really urgent situations. That's just what he needs, what he means, okay? So moving on, Joanne says, well, the thing is, I needed cab fare. I needed money for a taxi, and I didn't have any cash on me. So to have something on you, it means that you didn't have it with you at the moment. So you can say, oh, I don't have any cash on me right now. It means you don't have any cash with you. You have to go to the bank to get some cash. You can also say, I don't have any ideas on me. I don't have a pen on me. It means you do not have a pen with you at the moment. We'll practice that pattern later on, okay? Anyhow, she's saying, I needed money for a taxi, but I didn't have any cash. And I don't have a credit card. She doesn't have many things. So I needed to find an ATM, but I couldn't find any. She says she had problems or trouble finding one. Anyhow, Peter says, well, it's all about PPP. What does PPP mean? Well, he told us. PPP stands for poor, prior, planning. And he says it's all about that. Poor means what? As we all know, bad. Prior, meaning advance, before, and planning. So he's saying, you know, it's all about planning things ahead. You should plan ahead. The reason you had trouble was all because of poor prior planning. You didn't plan ahead. Well, Joanne says, oops, my mistake. Oops. Now Peter says, yeah, you've gotta, meaning got to, you've got to know where your ATMs are in your neighborhood. That's right. Do you know where your ATMs are in your neighborhood? Do you know at which convenience stores they have ATMs? Do you know about how many ATMs there are in your neighborhood? I haven't really counted, but I think there are at least 20 ATMs or maybe even more. But anyhow, the point is, he says, you have to know. You've got to know where your ATMs are in your neighborhood, so they will be easy to find. She says, I got to the ATM. So she found one and she arrived at the bank or convenience store. She found an ATM and there was a lady in front of me. Okay, so she was busy doing something at the ATM. And she says, and what was she doing? Although it was a question, it's a rhetorical question. She's not asking for a question, for an answer, but she's saying, 그 여자가 뭐 하고 있었다고? Right? You're asking a question for yourself and you're answering. So she's saying, and what was she doing? I'll tell you. She had a bank account. Okay. And you know how in Korea, you actually do all of your banking at the ATM. That's true. A lot of people do their banking at the ATM because the ATMs in Korea, they're so smart. You can do everything, almost everything there. As I mentioned, you can organize your bank book. You can pay your bills at these ATMs. You could withdraw money. You could deposit money. You could wire money or transfer money. You can do lots of things. So that's what she is saying. There was this lady and she had a bank account. She was standing in front of Joanne. And she says, you know, in Korea, it's so convenient. You can do all of your banking at the ATM. You don't have to go to the bank. You can do it at the machine. He says, oh yeah, you can transfer money. Transfer money means to send money, to wire money. We'll take a look at the pronunciation of that word later on. Anyhow, you can send money. You can do all those things. You can do many, many things at the ATM. Joanne says exactly. And she says, I'm not kidding. I'm serious. She, meaning the lady that was in front of her, took a full 7 minutes. A full 7 minutes? You can say she took 7 minutes. Simple. But why did Joanne say she took a full 7 minutes? Just to stress that it took a long time. It took a full 10 minutes. It took a full day. You're stressing that it took a long time. So she took a full 7 minutes. I would probably, or it would take me, 30 seconds. Only 30 seconds maximum, at most, to withdraw cash. But that lady, it took her 7 minutes. And then Peter says, I bet she got a lot done. Meaning, I bet she got a lot done. She organized this, she did that. I'm sure she did many things. I'm sure she got a lot done. Joanne says she did. She did get a lot done, and she was looking through her bank book. Okay, I think 통장. If you want to say 통장 in English, the safest way to put it is bank book. Okay, we all have bank books. Maybe not all of us, since we don't need them, but you can have a bank book. So she says she was looking through her bank book. Okay, she was looking through it, and I'm just standing there looking at my watch. She is talking about the situation. What you need to do is picture this, imagine the situation. So I'm just standing there looking at my watch, and I'm like, meaning I'm thinking, oh, I've got to meet Peter. And then she says, yeah, so I finally got my cash, and then I couldn't find a cab. So that was the next problem. First of all, she had a problem because she didn't have cash. She finally found an ATM. It took her a long time, but she found cash. She withdrew cash, but now the problem was she couldn't find a cab. Okay, let's move on. Now, Peter says, yeah, I remember the days when, that's a pattern, there weren't any ATMs around. Meaning they were very difficult to find, and you had to have money in your pocket, or the bank had to be open. Otherwise, you were out of luck. Meaning, otherwise, you were in trouble. Big trouble. Now she asks, what time did the bank close? Banks would be correct, okay, or more proper. What time did the banks close? Banks in general. And Peter said, well, banks closed, I don't know, 5 o'clock in America. Notice it's a question. He brings it up. So it means that he is not sure, but he thinks that banks closed at around 5 o'clock. Now, 5 o'clock, so you couldn't withdraw money after 5 o'clock, she asks. Now, withdraw means to, that's right. At the ATM, you can withdraw money, means to pull out, get money from your bank or from the ATM. But you couldn't do that after 5 o'clock. And Peter says, oh God, no. You had to plan ahead. You had to plan in advance. Goodness me, plan ahead, she says. And Peter finally says, so I think that's the lesson for today. Start to plan ahead. Now, not only when it comes to, I guess, withdrawing money from the bank, but I think planning ahead is almost always very important. Great. Thanks for that tip, Peter. Okay, let's have a listen to the actual talk one more time.
Sorry, Peter. I know I'm late.
Why?
Well, I had trouble finding an ATM of all things on my way here.
Yeah. Well, when you need cash, right?
Well, thing is, I needed a cab fare and I didn't have any cash on me, and I don't have a credit card, so I needed to find an ATM, but I couldn't find any.
It's all about PPP, poor prior planning.
Whoops.
So yeah, you got to know where your ATMs are in your neighborhood. That's the first thing.
Okay. Now, that's only the beginning of the story. I got to the ATM, and there was a lady in front of me. And what was she doing? She had a bank account. And you know how in Korea you actually do all your banking at the ATM? You have an option.
Oh yeah, you can transfer money.
Exactly.
You can do all those things.
And she took I'm not kidding, she took a full 7 minutes. And I'm just standing there going, I would probably take, 30 seconds maximum to withdraw cash. And you're standing there wasting 7 minutes of my time.
I bet she got a lot done.
She did. She did. And she was just looking through her bank checkbook or whatever it is. And I'm just standing there looking at my watch. I'm like, I've got to meet Peter.
Yeah.
Yep. So I finally got my cash, and then I couldn't find a cab.
Yeah, that's too bad. But at least you have ATMs. I remember the days when there weren't any ATMs around, and you had to have money in your pocket, or the bank had to be open. Otherwise, you're,
What time
out
did the
of
bank
luck.
close?
Banks closed, I don't know, 5 o'clock in America back then.
So you couldn't withdraw money after 5 o'clock?
Oh God, no, yeah. You had to
Goodness me.
plan ahead.
Plan ahead, yeah.
So I think that's the lesson for today. Start to plan ahead.
Today's actual talk conversation wasn't too difficult. It was quite easy, right? Okay, now that we've taken a listen to it one more time, let's take you straight to some vocab words from the actual talk conversation and check out some patterns, useful ones. First of all, I do have the word cab for you. It's an easy word, but just in case some of you are not familiar with it, cab is just another word for taxi. It's also called a taxi cab as one word. You can grab a cab, you could grab a taxi, you could grab a taxi cab. Another one, transfer. Now, I mentioned, even if you know the definition of this word, I just wanted to make sure that you know the proper pronunciation. Now, transfer, in this case, is used as a verb, okay? I'm giving you the pronunciation for the verb form of transfer. Most commonly, people say transfer, okay? That can be used in the verb and the noun form, but it would be proper to put the stress on the second syllable when you are using transfer as a verb. Say, for example, you can say, I need to transfer money. I need to transfer money. In that case, it's a verb, so stress the second syllable. Transfer, transfer. I have to transfer to line number 2 on the subway. Okay? It's okay to say transfer, but it's more proper to say transfer when you're using it as a verb. So please remember that. So some synonyms are wire and also send. You could wire money or you could also send money. One more, withdraw. Withdraw. Stress goes right here. Withdraw money. You could withdraw money. Okay? It means to pull out. You can go to an ATM machine. You could deposit money, meaning to put in. Right? You are putting money into your account, but when you are pulling money out of your account, you are withdrawing money. Okay? So keep these 3 vocab words in mind, and let's check out the first pattern. All right, so we have something on someone. In the beginning of today's actual talk conversation, what problem did Joanne have? She said that she needed cab fare, taxi fare, money for a taxi ride, but she didn't have any cash on her. She said, I didn't have any cash on me. So it means to have something with you or not to have something with you. Okay? Here is a sample sentence. I only have 20,000 won on me right now. And this means I only have 20,000 with me right now. So if you carry a wallet around with you, if that's where you keep your money, and you open it up, and you only have 1,000 won in your wallet, you can say, I only have 1,000 won on me right now. Okay? Here we go with another one. I don't have any cash on me. Now, I don't have. So what does that mean? I don't have any cash on me. It means I don't have any cash with me. My wallet is empty. I don't have any cash. So you can say, I don't have any cash on me right now. I need to go to the ATM to withdraw some money. Got it? Okay, another one. Take a full plus time duration. Joanne mentioned something about a lady that was in front of her using the ATM, and it took her a full 7 minutes, remember? Okay, so here we go. It is just a way of stressing how long something took. It took a full 20 minutes to walk there. Now, this means that it took a very long time. To you, 20 minutes was a very long time. It took a full 20 minutes to walk there. It took me a full 20 minutes to walk there. Always remember a full. The A should be there at all times. Another sample sentence is, it took a full hour at the service center. Actually, the other day, I had to go to the service center to get my phone fixed, and it took me a full 4 hours at the service center. I was waiting for a full 4 hours at the service center for a very long time. So the next time you want to stress how long something took, try using take a full and then time duration. One more time, it took a full hour at the service center. Don't say AS Center, say Service Center, okay? Keep that in mind. And one more pattern, everyone. Remember the days when. This is what Peter said. He talked about how he remembers the days when banks closed really early, so you had to have cash on you. If not, otherwise, you were out of luck, right? So here are a few sentences. I remember the days when there were public phones on every street corner. This is true. Maybe up till about 10 years ago, I think. When I was little, I remember public phones were everywhere. But nowadays, since people have smartphones and cell phones, we don't really need these public phones as much. But yeah, I remember the days when there were public phones on every street corner. You're saying it's hard to find them nowadays, but those were the days. Okay, another one. What about this one? Yeah, I remember the days when television sets were huge. I mean, television sets are still very huge. They're big, but they're flat these days. But I remember the days when television sets were huge. Plus, I would say fat. Okay. Yeah, huge and fat would be probably the best way to put it. These days, TV sets are quite huge, but back in the day, long time ago, years and years ago, television sets were huge and very fat. They were box-like. So when you want to talk about the past and talk about how things have changed, keep this pattern in mind. I remember the days when things were a certain way. Okay, good job, everyone.
ATM usage in Korea is actually really convenient. There's a lot of ATMs everywhere you go. But I know for a lot of international students, when they come to Korea, they either don't have the time or they don't have a long enough stay in Korea to make it worthwhile to get a Korean bank account. So those students have to use international ATMs. That's usually fine and it works out well for them, but I know a few times that when it comes for the larger fees, such as dormitory fees or tuition fees, they end up having a bit of a hard time. I have quite a few friends that when it came time for those fees, they have to go to the ATM every day, maybe for a week or more, like 10 days even. And every time that they go to the ATM, they can only withdraw maybe 100,000 won, maybe 500,000 won. And so I think it's a little bit hard on them. And also because these ATMs are often by the foreign dormitories, they actually run out of money. So I think just be aware of this and start a little bit ahead of time if you're going to have to withdraw from the international ATMs.
Now, today we had a chance to listen to Kayla's actual story. We asked her to talk about ATMs in Korea, and what did Kayla say? She talked about how it could be difficult, especially for foreigners visiting Korea or even for students that are studying in Korea, because many of them don't stay here for very long, so they end up not opening a bank account. And in that case, it could be very difficult to use ATM machines, I think. Okay, anyhow, let's take a look. Kayla said there are a lot of ATMs, a lot of them, everywhere you go. There are a lot of ATMs everywhere you go. Basically, she's saying there are many of them. They are on every street corner. Okay, another one. For a lot of international students, she's giving us an example. For them, for international students, they don't have a long enough stay. Their stay in Korea is not that long, okay, to get a Korean bank account. One more time. For a lot of international students, they don't have a long enough stay in Korea to get a Korean bank account. Sometimes they only stay for maybe a month or two, so they don't need to open a bank account. That is what she's saying, or perhaps for 6 months even. Another one, so those students, meaning those international students, have to use international ATMs. They have to use different kinds of ATMs, and they have to be international ATMs. When it comes to larger fees, bigger fees, large sums, for example, such as dormitory fees or tuition fees, they end up This means to result, right? They end up having a bit of a hard time. They have a hard time. They have difficulty, especially when they have to pay huge bills or huge fees, such as dormitory fees or tuition fees. All right? Okay, and here we go with one last sentence from her story. Because these ATMs are often, many of them, often by, meaning next to or close to the foreign dormitories, they actually run out of money. Run out of something means to use it all up and have none left. You could run out of shampoo. You could run out of money, which means you don't have any shampoo left. If you run out of money, it means there is no money left. So for these students, since they have to go to international ATMs, and since these ATMs are close to or by foreign dormitories, sometimes these ATMs run out of money and there's no money left in them. And that could be trouble. Okay, so that sometimes can cause them a lot of trouble and give them a hard time. And yeah, thank you, Kayla, for sharing your story. I hope that was a lot of help to everyone out there. Okay, that is a wrap for today's actual story.
ATM usage in Korea is actually really convenient. There's a lot of ATMs everywhere you go. But I know for a lot of international students, when they come to Korea, they either don't have the time or they don't have a long enough stay in Korea to make it worthwhile to get a Korean bank account. So those students have to use international ATMs. That's usually fine and it works out well for them, but I know a few times that when it comes for the larger fees, such as dormitory fees or tuition fees, they end up having a bit of a hard time. I have quite a few friends that when it came time for those fees, they have to go to the ATM every day, maybe for a week or more, like 10 days even. And every time that they go to the ATM, they can only withdraw maybe 100,000 won, maybe 500,000 won. And so I think it's a little bit hard on them. And also because these ATMs are often by the foreign dormitories, they actually run out of money. So I think just be aware of this and start a little bit ahead of time if you're going to have to withdraw from the international ATMs.
Well, today we talked about ATMs, also known as automated teller machines. Now, one tip I want to give you is, now it's short for ATM, automated teller machine. So although people say ATM machines, it would be proper to not mention machine at the end. Just say ATMs, ATMs. Anyway, that was our topic for today. Next time, we'll talk about all different methods, such as internet, phone, and even mobile banking. Something that you may do on a daily or a weekly basis. I still tend to be a very old-fashioned type of person. I don't do mobile banking. I don't do online banking. I sometimes just go to the bank and look for a close-by ATM. All right, anyway, that was our topic for today, and that is our next topic to come in our next lesson. You all know what to do. Come check us out at our homepage. Come to www.ebse.co.kr. And keep in mind that we do have scripts up on our homepage for each and every lesson, so make use of them, all right? Sometimes I do add some extra tips or information, so make use of them. Okay, thanks for joining me. I'll catch you again next time. Bye for now, everyone.